रसोई के रहस्य आओ मिलकर खोले हम, सब्जी दाल मसाले इन सबको टटोले हम। रसोई के रहस्य आओ मिलकर खोले हम, सब्जी दाल मसाले इन सबको टटोले हम। रसोई के रहस्य आओ मिलकर खोले हम, रसोई के रहस्य आओ मिलकर खोले हम।
नमस्कार, रसोई के रहस्य के इस नए एपिसोड में आप सबका स्वागत है। एक नया एपिसोड, नए एक्सपर्ट, नया पड़ाव और बहुत ही एक्साइटिंग इंफॉर्मेशन, ये सब लेकर हम एक बार फिर एक्सपर्ट टॉक के अगले एपिसोड में आपके साथ शामिल हैं। आज के हमारे जो एक्सपर्ट हैं उनको मैं अगर डिस्क्राइब करना चाहूँ तो मैं दो काम करने वाली हूँ। यहाँ पर दो टेस्ट होंगे। एक, आपकी एबिलिटी किसी को रिकग्नाइज करने की, आपकी जनरल नॉलेज या योर इन्फॉर्मेशन अबाउट फूड एंड पीपल इन्वॉल्व विद फूड, वो एक होगी। और उससे भी ज्यादा मेरी अपनी मेमोरी पावर का टेस्ट होगा कि इनकी जो अचीवमेंट्स हैं उनको मैं कितना याद कर पाई हूँ और याद करके मैं आपके साथ कितना शेयर कर सकती हूँ। सो हियर गोज आवर गेस्ट chef today is many different things, wears many hats. She is a TV anchor. She is a chef from Le Cordon Bleu, both in Paris and in London. She is an award-winning author of a cookbook, From My Kitchen to Yours. अगर इसके बारे में सुना हो तो this should be a clue. She is also somebody who loves her food and has her own YouTube channel, जिसका नाम मैं आपको अभी नहीं बताऊंगी। और अगर मैं कहूँ that she is somebody who has climbed mountains and dived under the ocean and done everything else in between, I wouldn't be joking. So अभी तक आप नहीं समझ पाए, and she's, judging by how much activity she involves herself in the outdoors. She's a lover of nature and she loves the outdoors. So अगर आपने याद किया हो, आपको समझ में आया हो तो ठीक है, नहीं तो I'm not going to waste any more time here for anybody. Let me take great pleasure in inviting to my show Maria Goretti. Hi Maria, such a pleasure to have you here.
Hi Payal, such a long introduction.
I can't help it. That's you.
I know, but it's now, I feel very overwhelmed and I feel really thankful and grateful that you thought of me and you have me on your show. Thank you so much.
You can't imagine how excited I am because, looking at all that you have done with your life, apart from, all the big and the little things, there's so much that goes into making a person who they are. And these things, I think, from what I can see, happen only with a certain amount of passion and a desire to want to do so many things. So why don't you share with my listeners, what is it that makes Maria Goretti who she is, and so many different things, and your culinary journey, of course. That's something we'd love to know about.
So Payal, actually, most of the time, whenever I have embarked on something, it has actually been a very, very organic journey. So most of my life has been unplanned coincidences of events that have led to beautiful places. Mm-hmm. And I am thankful to the one above for that. I think what I completely thrive on is actually living with sense of truth, Right. So most of the time, sorry, my alarm went in the middle. Actually, that was my alarm to remind
no
me.
No worries.
I have this interview with you and not to be sleeping. Yeah, so I had taken my vaccine yesterday and I have just been eating and sleeping since my vaccine.
Oh God.
I've been eating and sleeping. So I was like, I put many alarms so that I wake up.
I hope you're feeling okay with the after effects.
I'm feeling fine. Thankfully, I'm just sleepy and ravenously hungry. These are the only two side effects of my second vaccine.
Right.
So they're both fine. But no, as I was saying, that most of the time, the work that I've done through life has been something that has come to me, and then, I've taken it up and I've worked really hard after, being part of it. Food is something that I would say I've always loved, as in I'm a foodie. I used to love eating food, love trying out new places, all these kind of things. Mm-hmm. till I had my kids. And when I had my son Zeke, I realized that there were very few things that I could feed him. And I was constantly calling my mom and saying, now what to feed him? How do I make this? How do I make that?
Mhm.
So I would say that my journey with food started with my kids. I used to try a lot of stuff, Google a lot of stuff. And I realized through my time with trying to learn is that I was actually very, very deeply involved in it. And I wanted to know more. I wanted to actually understand the nuances. So I'm a little obsessive when it comes to things that I love. If I love something, then I am inside it like 300%.
Right.
And I want to know how it works from all angles. I'm like that. If I really love something, then I'm absolutely gussoed into it and fully involved.
You have to do it right. There's no midway, halfway is there.
Yeah, so then I need to and I keep trying. And then if I feel, okay, I'm really terrible at this, then I kind of back off.
Okay.
Or when I back off, if I feel, no, let's try once more, then I will try once more. So I'm one of those people who don't give up very easily till they actually give up. So food for me was this whole passion that led to beautiful places. And then in 2011, after my daughter was also born, she was born in 2007. When she was 4, I went off and I studied at Tante Marie, which is in London. I did a very intensive course at Tante Marie, which was a school in London. It's a culinary, bakery, boulangerie school.
Right.
And that was my first tryst with going back to school, And then, of course, after that, I came back and I was writing a food blog. I was blogging. I was writing. I started doing a lot of, food demos. And but basically, I was a stay-at-home mom because my children were small and I could not leave them and go anywhere. So I knew that whatever I do, I will do along with them. But mostly, I wanted to be home for the time that they were kids. So that was a thought that I had in my head, even before I had kids. And I've been working since the time I was 18. But I somehow knew that when I have kids, I will kind of stay home for them.
True.
Now they're teens and they actually love their independence more than anything else. So now, so very, very organically now I am taking up more work. I am looking at, doing various things. And I have no idea where this is going to lead. But in 2018, I went and I did my, pastry chef. I'm a certified pastry chef from Le Cordon Bleu, London and Paris.
Right.
So I have been doing that. And what I really enjoy doing is I enjoy teaching.
Yes, I know that. Yeah. I can relate to that completely. That's something that is.
Yeah. So I realized, it's taken me a very long time, but I realized that I have commitment problems. So whenever I think of a cafe, the idea is very romantic.
Yes.
And it's very beautiful. But when I think of just not doing anything else but that.
True.
Yeah. Then I keep thinking, I said, no. I have this major commitment to my kids that I've given everything to, and I cannot handle anymore. So let the rest of it be free flowing, and what has to stay will, what has to leave will. So I have come down to that. So it's been a beautiful journey, and I'm really enjoying it. And
because
so much
food is just so much, it's the work of the soul, truly, because good food satiates, leave alone the body. It's like soul food definitely means something.
Yeah, it makes you happy, it makes your inside smile. Absolutely. And I've realized that, especially for me, because I don't have patisserie or a bakery or a cafe that I need to go to at work at every day. I feel that, when I wake up in the morning, sometimes I don't feel like baking or I don't feel like cooking or, something or sometimes I do. So, it's just something that is very connected to my insides. And, I go through phases where I am baking and cooking like a crazy person, and I go through phases where I won't do anything. But because I'm always doing some work or the other, it all balances out.
Correct. That of course it does for most of us. And I hear you completely about wanting and not wanting to do things. It's nice to be free, nice to be able to decide what you want to and not want to do.
Yeah, sometimes it is. Sometimes I feel maybe I need to have like something that I have to go and do. Maybe that will be better. But I don't, I just feel that, there is a lot more probably waiting around the corner, and it will unfold when it does.
So true, so true. For all of us, I mean, in fact, this whole journey with Rasoi Ke Rahasya for me was completely like that. I mean, from being a graduate 31 years back who didn't get an opportunity to actually do all that she was trained to do, 30 years later to sit in the middle of a pandemic and begin a YouTube channel to teach blind people how to cook, as organic as it gets, like you say. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Great. So today you are going to be sharing a nice, happy recipe with us. I'm eagerly waiting to hear what is it that we are going to learn to make.
So what I really love to do is to bake bread.
Lovely.
Okay. I enjoy baking bread. I really, really enjoy it. And it is something that involves all your senses. It involves your hands. It involves your being. It involves how you feel. And, really that really makes your bake, is what I've realized. And so today what I'm going to share with you is this bread that it's a very indulgent bread. It's basically, you need flour, about 250 grams.
Refined flour?
Normal maida from the market.
No? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, normal maida from the market. You need about 15 to 18 grams of fresh yeast. Mm-hmm. Now, fresh yeast is something that you get at your local bakery. And I always go to my local bakery and I bring a cake of it. It comes in like a 100 grams.
Like a bar.
200 grams bar, yeah. So I always get that and I keep it in the fridge. So you need about 15 to 18 grams of fresh yeast. Then you need butter, about 40 grams of butter, nice cold butter. Since this is very rich dough, you put 1 egg inside it. Okay. Then I keep 150 ml of milk measured, but I put this slowly in because I have realized that sometimes on some days, the maida needs just about 125 ml of milk. On some days, I need to put about 175 ml of milk. But in a bowl, I always measure 150 and I put it in slowly. So, then what I do is, the first thing I start with is, of course, my filling. Now, my filling is going to be 10 cloves of garlic, 100 grams of onion, okay, some nice chopped mixed herbs. When you do rosemary, just remember, don't put the stalks in, Yeah, just don't put the stalks in. Anything you put in terms of herb, don't put the stalks, put the leaves. So even in the rosemary, take the little, the sticks, take them out of the stalk. Because the stalk will mess with your, when you're biting into it, you won't like it.
Okay.
So that way. Or you can put parsley, or you can put whatever you feel like. Basically, whatever is tasty for you. But what you need is 150 grams of cheddar cheese.
Excellent.
You need like a nice cheddar cheese. So the first thing you need to do is you need to take your garlic, you need to peel it, you need to chop it really, really small, very tiny. And you need to also chop your onions. So then you saute your garlic in a little oil and butter, keep it to the side, let it get cool. Then you take your onion, you saute it again till it becomes translucent or slightly brown, but not fully.
Yes.
And you keep this to the side. So now this is your filling. You've kept it to the side. You grate your cheddar cheese. You keep it onto the side. Now, what you do is you take a bowl. Now, in that bowl, you put your milk, which is about, like I said, 150 ml. You put your 150 ml in. Inside this 150 ml of milk, before you put this 150 ml of milk, on the side, take a little, like 2 tablespoons of, or 1 tablespoon of water. Put the yeast into the water and put probably half a teaspoon of sugar on it and let it bloom. It needs to proof. So when you see that it is all frothy on top, then it is ready to add into for your flour.
You're using lukewarm water for these?
We're using lukewarm water you're not using water straight from the tap. It always should be boiled and kept aside.
Right.
Because tap water has certain chemicals and certain I would say it has certain minerals.
Particles, yes, it has particles. You never know what's coming with the tap water. Yeah.
Also, it kind of stops the whole proofing process. So it's always nice to have boiled water that has been kept onto the side, which is already cooled and kept ready for all your cooking, baking purposes in general. In general, I would say. Okay, now we get down to, now that we've got our yeast and our little water and little sugar on the side that has nicely proofed on the side. It has just kind of started getting frothy. In a bowl, in a nice bowl, it could be a glass bowl. I normally use a glass bowl or a stainless steel bowl, but I use a glass. You put your milk into it. It's 150 ml of milk. You crack your 1 egg into it. Okay. And then, of course, you also take your, put a little salt, salt into this. And you just whisk it nicely, absolutely well. So you've mixed it all together. Now, after you do this, then you take your yeast with the little water, which is 1 tablespoon or 2 tablespoons of water. You add this into this wet mix.
Right.
And again, whisk it all up.
Right.
Now, once this is done, you then add your 250 grams of flour. Okay. Once you add your 250 grams of flour, you don't whisk it anymore. But if you have like a big spatula, you cut into your milk and butter and everything. You cut the flour into it. If you feel that it is too soggy, then what you need to do is very, very slightly, little at a time, add a little flour over it.
Right.
Okay, do not make it too dry. But now, once you feel that okay, this is all the milk has soaked into your bread, what you can do is throw a little flour on your tabletop, on your clean tabletop, and outturn this entire dough onto your tabletop.
Right.
Okay. Now, once you have done this, you then knead this for 10 minutes. If you feel it is too sticky, put your hands into flour so that your hands are filled with flour and you don't have extra flour, and slowly continue with the kneading process till you have a dough that is not sticky. Yeah, and it has nicely come together, and it feels like a baby's bottom.
Soft dough.
Soft dough. Yeah. So it takes about 10 minutes of good, rigorous kneading with your hand. And it's always nice to do it with your hand because then you know what you're doing.
Absolutely. And for us, in any case, it's always best. As tactile as it is, the better it is.
Tactile, yeah. So the thing is, just have a little patience. If it's sticky, put a little flour. What I do is I always touch the flour to the palm of my hand. I just everything. So it's not too much. And I slowly add it in if it is a bit sticky. Because sometimes you do need to, the weather outside, everything.
Your body temperature at times also adds to the whole.
Adds to this. Absolutely. So once you've done this, now what I do is I take the butter. Okay, and my butter is now lying on the side. So I just kind of take the butter and I keep melting the butter with my body, with my palm on the side on the table. And I keep like in a circular motion.
Yeah, you squish it in a circular motion.
Yeah, in a circular motion. And then I kind of smear it onto the bread. So I stretch the bread open, smear the butter in, and then pull it again so that my butter keeps getting into this dough.
Yes.
So now my 10 minutes has passed and now I'm starting with the butter. So my gluten is already formed. Now the thing is, when you put butter, the butter somewhere also cuts the gluten. So you need that formation of gluten in the beginning. That is why the 10 minutes is without the butter.
Right.
Yeah. Now that you put your butter in, all your butter has gone into it. About 40 grams of it has gone into your bread. Your bread is even softer.
Right.
Okay. And now you turn it and you make it into a little ball. And then over it, you just put a nice damp muslin cloth.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You leave this for 40 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. So about, I think depending on where you are, what the temperature is outside, it takes between 30 to 40 minutes to proof.
Okay. I have a question here about the butter. Is the butter unsalted or salted?
It doesn't matter. I use normal everyday
Butter,
salted.
usual regular salted butter. I think it's
love
yummy with salted butter.
It's yummy, absolutely. So I'll just do that, Payal. I just use normal butter.
Great. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
very tasty. Yeah, it's really, really tasty.
Yeah.
Now, after 40 minutes, you will see that your bread dough has proved very beautifully and it has risen and it's very beautiful. So then you pick this muslin cloth over your dough. Now, I just want to give you a tip. Sometimes what happens is the outside temperature is so dry that your muslin cloth gets stuck to your dough.
Yes.
At this point of time, if it does get stuck to your dough, very, very carefully, I want you to wet your hand with water. Not too much, and just with your fingertips tap the area which has gotten stuck.
Right.
And that kind of helps you release the muslin cloth from the bread.
Right. Sounds good. Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Now you pull the muslin cloth off. Now what I want you to do is just whack the dough down with all your might.
Or whoever you want to think of it as.
Whoever you want to take name and just bang it down.
Go for it.
Go for it. Yeah. Now that you've done that, just give it a small little knead very quickly.
Yeah.
And then what I do is, now this can be done in two ways. Now you have your cheddar cheese,
Right.
you have your cheddar, you have your garlic, and you have your onion.
Right.
Now these three things, now you can, like I said, you can do this in two ways. You can either mix it all together, and then what you can do is you can massage it into your dough. So what happens is this cheddar and garlic and onion is all over your bread. Or then you take your dough and you divide it into about 7. It gets divided into, I think, 7 pieces.
Right.
Or 8 pieces, depending. And then what you can do is make a ball with each one and keep it on the side, flatten it, and then put this as your filling.
Right. Okay. Like you would a stuffed puri or a samosa or whatever, just fill it in.
Yes. Into each bun, you will have a certain amount, which you should have, normally the same amount, so that it looks the same. And then what you can do is then roll it with your hand, onto the tabletop, in a circular motion. So you have the dough sitting in the palm of your hand, and you make like a little cage with your palm and your hand around the dough, and you run it in circles. And you see that it is absolutely closed on the bottom and it's not open.
Yes. So between your forefinger and thumb when you're rotating it on your palm.
Yeah. With your whole palm, actually. Your whole palm is like all your fingers are touching the table.
Right.
And then you just put the bread in the middle of your palm. Then you just turn it in circles. So it gets a very nice shape. And then you leave it to proof again. Now this proofing will go faster because it's already okay. Now when this proofing is getting done, what you do is preheat your oven to about 200 degrees.
Okay.
Yeah, you preheat your oven to about 200 degrees. What you can use is you use either a baking tray, you can use a bread box, however you want to kind of arrange your bread. Normally what I do is I take this and I put it in a circular tray, in a circular baking tray, and I make it look like a flower. So I put one in the center, all these little balls on the side. So now once, also before to prepare the baking tray, just remember at the bottom, you must put a baking sheet. Which means you either put, your baking paper. And on the side, and on the side of your tin, please see that you put a little butter and maida so that nothing sticks.
Right. Dusting it, yes.
Yeah?
Okay.
So just for safety.
Perfect.
So now that you've done that, you put your bread, little balls, stuffed balls, you put them all around in the tray. It has proofed. I think it should take about 35 minutes, not more. Okay. If it is not proofed, then you wait for it to proof, because otherwise once you put it into the oven, it's not going to come up like you want it to. So it always needs to be proofed, but not overproofed. So that is a little tricky place that we all learn with our own experience.
So what are we looking at? I mean, time-wise, you say about 35 minutes?
I think 35 minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So for me, in the temperature that I live in, it takes about that much of time.
Fair enough. I mean, we probably depending different places. So we are looking at these balls again, growing in size, multiplying in size to a certain point.
Yes. Yeah. So they again, you have to proof them. So it's a double proofed bread. So once you proof the whole thing, and once you proof them in tiny bits. So the tiny bits will definitely take lesser time.
Right. Okay. Okay.
But now it has got its butter, it has got its stuffing. So it takes, and you've hit it down. So it takes about 35 minutes.
Okay, great.
Now, once it is done, you can either give it an egg wash or you give it a milk wash.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on what you want to do.
Mm.
I normally give it a milk wash because an egg, whenever I crack an egg to do this, unless you're doing many, many breads, it just goes to waste.
Mm-hmm.
So you give it an milk wash.
Mm.
And then you put it into the oven and it cooks in 18 to 20 minutes at 200 degrees.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So sometimes if your oven fluctuates or if it is not getting done, just understand that the top of it needs to be slightly brown. It cannot be white. If it's white, the insides are not yet cooked. Because this is one
touch it. If I'm touching it, let's say, if I'm sort of pulling it out to check and I'm touching it, what would that texture be? I should be able to feel a flake on top, like some sort of like a cooked sense.
It doesn't get hard. It doesn't get hard on top, if that's what you want. Okay, but I think the color is, I think to be safe, between 20 to 30 minutes is your baking time, depending on how you've placed it, how you've kept it, whether it's in the middle, whether it's a little, some ovens get hot too fast. They also
exactly. Yes, that's another thing with ovens. Yeah, that's another thing with temperature of ovens.
Yeah, so sometimes even though you're baking at 200, your temperature has risen to about 230. So these are things that I can't control for you.
Absolutely. So 20 minutes is a good, 18 to 20 minutes is a good time to give it a look.
I think to keep it safe, 20 to 25 is great.
Okay.
Now, when it comes out, what you can do is on the top, you can just take a little butter and slather it with butter.
Lovely. Okay.
Yummy. And then just pull it apart, and it's like a pull apart bread, and you just eat it. But okay, there's another thing that I need to tell you. Once your bread is done and you take it out of the oven, you must, in about the next 5 minutes, take it out of that baking tray. Otherwise, your bread will sweat.
Okay.
And keep it, once you take it out of the baking tray, keep it over, a cooling rack. So that it cools from all sides and that moisture does not stay in. It needs to breathe.
Yes.
Because it will be hot, so it needs to breathe. So, and I think in another 15, in fact, whenever I make breads like this, it becomes very difficult for me to not.
Yes, absolutely. You want to go for it straight away.
Yeah, it smells beautiful. The garlic, the onion, the fresh herbs, the butter. You're like, oh my God, please let me eat this.
I can imagine. I could only just imagine. And if we are fortunate enough to have an opportunity of storing this, what are the storage tips?
You have number one is you have to put it in your fridge because it has got egg in it. It has
egg and
got
milk, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. And there are no preservatives, there are no additives. So the max amount of days you should finish it in is 1.5 days. But I would put it in, it will not last. I'm telling you.
Exactly. True. Absolutely.
It's not staying. I mean, like never. But still, if you have to, then you keep it in your fridge. And then you have to heat your oven to 150 degrees and let it get done in about 150 degrees when you want to reheat it. So that's what I do.
Fabulous. Yeah. This sounds really, really interesting. And the only thing is the yeast, like I told you before, I'm a little hesitant about yeast. Never used it in a long time. So
yeast is something that you need to just actually play with. You will, you kind of try and understand. You'll have to keep making bread the same bread. The best way to learn how to make anything is to do the same thing over and over again. So this recipe I would have probably done maybe 5 times before I actually came down to saying, okay, this is how this works for me. So
the yeast, but is there any other option? Let's say for some reason one doesn't have a bakery or just an option.
Okay.
Just
so then, so maybe then dry yeast.
Okay.
Yeah, so then dry yeast, I think dry yeast, then I would have to use about maybe 10. See, I've never done this with dry yeast because I have the option of going to a bakery and getting.
And I'm sure a lot of us do. I'm sure a lot of us have the neighborhood bakeries.
But I think dry yeast would be about, it's always 1/3 the amount. I'm not very sure right now. I'm so sorry about that. But I think when you use dry yeast, it is stronger. So you need to use 1/3 the amount. So probably, fresh yeast is about, if I'm using 18 grams, then this would be on about 6-7 grams each.
But the same process follows the same process.
The same process.
Water and sugar.
Yeah, and it will be the same process. Now, fresh yeast you can put directly. Just remember that your sugar, your egg, all that cannot be cold. It has to be room temperature. Otherwise, even when you're doing it with the fresh yeast, just remember that the egg that you add into the milk, your milk, all this has to be room temperature. Otherwise, it will retard the growth of the whole fermentation process.
Yes, either that or then if it's too hot, it will cook.
If it's too hot, it will kill it. It will
end up with a scrambled egg, a yeast flavored scrambled egg.
Yes. So that is what.
This is absolutely wonderful. I'm sure there's a lot of us over there who've been waiting. At least I am. I know I'm waiting to.
This is very simple, Payal. I really hope you enjoy making this because it's one of those recipes that you can also, like I use this bread as my base recipe, and then you can put anything in it.
Absolutely. Oh, yes.
If you want to make it sweet, you can put kishmish, you can put chocolate, you can do whatever you want with it,
And what about sugar? I mean, since you're talking about this, if you're making it completely sweet, then in that case, the butter still remains salted and
the butter still remains the same. I've never made this sweet. But I have made this with, I have stuffed it with sweet things. Like I've stuffed it with lovely coconut, jaggery, kishmish, instead of the garlic and the onions and the herbs. Right. So when you have your stuffing, which is sweet, you don't need the bread to be sweet.
You don't need it, right? Absolutely. Yeah. It gets over the top sweet.
Right, it goes over the top. Like when you put your cheddar has a certain amount of salt. So you don't miss too much, like your basic salt that you put in the beginning, very little, I told you, just put a pinch of salt. At that time, you need like about maybe, I'll tell you how much, about 5 grams of salt, because it's 250 grams of flour. Yeah, so you need 5 grams of salt because the rest of your salt is going to come from your salted butter. It's there in your cheddar. Yeah. So it will balance everything out.
And also the flavors, I think, are lovely. A sweet filling with a salty crust is absolutely beautiful.
So also another thing that you can do when you are giving it a last milk brush before you put it into the oven is you can take rock salt and just chuck it on it.
Oh,
very
yes.
little.
Oh, yes.
Just chuck it on it, and it is very nice. It just is very nice. When you're eating that one little salty bit that comes into your mouth, it's quite appealing.
Okay, now I want to just go and do this. I want to go and get myself some yeast at the earliest and definitely attempt this recipe because it's really delicious. It sounds so good.
Yeah, and it's very simple, Payal. It's very simple and you really
It's just a matter of getting over the hesitation of that first step, At the most, what is to go wrong? It'll probably become hard or whatever it is, but it'll still be
So just to tell you, the first time I made bread and I invited friends over. And according to me, I was so excited about my bread. And my friends told me later, Maria, they were so hard, you could kill someone with it. So, we all start somewhere like that. So just remember that if you do it like
absolutely. It's just about not giving up. So what if it?
Yeah, you don't give up.
It was a rock the first time. It'll definitely.
It was, and my friends were like, So every time I used to tell them, I bake bread. They used to be dreading it, but they would all shut up, not say anything. And I would be like,
nice to you and tell you, maybe.
yeah, like, so they would be like, oh, it's nice, huh? But nobody used to really be eating it. So, but anyway, I used to be just excited at the fact that I was able to bake like a bread and put it on the table.
Yeah, exactly. That's what's going to happen to me when I finally get over this, this worry of baking bread and killing people with it. So.
No, it's good fun.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for this recipe and for taking time to join us here at Rasoi Ke Rahasya.
Thank you so much, Payal.
My listeners are going to be really happy to hear this recipe and to learn from your little bits of simple tips. Thanks so much. Rasoi Ke Rahasya का ये एपिसोड यहाँ तक आपने सुना और ब्रेड जरूर बनाइएगा, जुड़े रहिएगा हमारे साथ इंस्टाग्राम और फेसबुक पर। लाइक कीजिए, शेयर कीजिए, सब्सक्राइब कीजिए और सुनते रहिए रसोई के रहस्य।